Vice President of Institutional Advancement and Community Engagement here at Roxbury Community College. And we just want to say how much we appreciate you selecting this venue for these conversations. I'd like to especially thank Senator Sonia Chang-Diaz, Senator Linda Dorsey-Fori, and Senator President Stan Rosenberg for thinking of us and for using Roxbury Community College to do something that is so important to the community. So without further ado, I'm sure that this will be a very engaging evening, and I will turn it over to both Senator Chang-Diaz and Senator Williams.
Thank you so much, Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Vice President Williams. I'm going to say sitting because you won't be able to hear me without the mic, I think. Good evening, everyone. All right, we're a little warmed up from the Vice President. I'm Sonia Chang-Diaz, the State Senator for the 2nd Suffolk District, which is very proudly the home of RCC, and we thank you so much for hosting us. As you can see, we have many members of the Senate here with us tonight. I think at least or about half of the whole membership of the Senate. So I'm going to ask in a minute the folks up here who've joined in coming here, the thoughts and wishes of the people of Greater Roxbury and Metro Boston. So this is not just the media surrounding neighborhoods with us tonight. To introduce themselves to you so you know a little bit about who's here to hear from you. Before we do that, though, I just want to say a few words on housekeeping. We have many, many people who are signed up to speak about their wishes for what the Senate works on in the coming term, in the coming years. And we want to do the best we can to hear from everyone. So we're going to keep this time really tight. We're going to ask everyone to limit your comments to 2 minutes. Jared, our very esteemed timekeeper, is here up front, and he's going to give you the warning sign at 1 minute and at 30 seconds. And then when the 2 minutes is up, and just please remember that there are many people coming behind you in line. Also, I really want to remind people that tonight, the purpose of tonight is to weigh in, to help us set an agenda, right? This is not going to be the last word. It's not even going to be the middle word. This is really just to give us the quick snapshot of the things that you are interested in, that you want us to know about, and that you want us to be working on. So it won't be your last opportunity to weigh in or share information with us as a Senate or to advocate. So please also just keep that in mind. There'll be many future opportunities, and we all will continue to be interested to hear. With that, there'll be some other housekeeping things I'm sure we'll say in the middle, but I'll kick it over to Senator Fori to add any remarks, and then we'll do introductions from the members of the Senate.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. We are happy that you could be here with us tonight, really to share your experiences and the issues that Senator Chang-Diaz mentioned that are important to you, important to your families, important to our great state. I'm happy that we're joined by our Senate President, Stan Rosenberg, who thought it was important, absolutely. Who really has come in and really listening to the members. And it was Senator Michael Roderick who came up with the idea of, it would be great if we could listen to folks around the Commonwealth and see what's important. But our leader here in Senate President Stan Rosenberg heard that issue and said, you know what, this is a great idea. So we need to go on the road. So we've done this all over the state. There are 351 cities and towns around Massachusetts, but this is the one for Metro Boston, and we're happy you could be here with us as you share the issues that you're concerned about. We really want to let Senate President Stan Rosenberg say a few words before we go down and introduce ourselves. Again, thank you for coming out and for being here this evening. I represent Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park, and South Boston. I represent the 1st Suffolk District.
So thank you very much, and I'm going to be very, very brief because we want to hear from as many people this evening as possible. And for those of you who don't get to speak this evening, who wanted to deliver a message, we have a website, and you can log on to the website and send us your comments and your testimony as well. And the purpose of this, as has been said, is for us to listen. So we're not going to be debating, we're not going to be making speeches up here, we'll be taking notes on our electronic devices or otherwise as we choose. And this whole exercise is about providing an opportunity for people across the Commonwealth to weigh in, share their thoughts, their hopes, their concerns, and give us some guidance as we assemble the priorities and the agenda for the State Senate. This is a first-time effort, and this is our 5th day. We start early in the morning and go till late at night. And forgive us if we don't reach you tonight in terms of the order that you got to sign up. Some of our members have to drive about 2 hours to get home, so I hope you'll forgive us because we were out on the road as early as 7 o'clock this morning, and so it's been a very long and productive day. We've met a lot of people, heard a lot of ideas and concerns, and we're looking forward to hearing from you this evening. And consider this the beginning of the conversation, not the end.
Very good. Thank you, Senate President. I also want to introduce, because we do work in partnership, right? So the dysfunction that's happening in Congress doesn't really happen here in Massachusetts. So I want to introduce our minority leader in the Senate, Senator Bruce Tarr, who's also here, and allow me to say a few words.
Very much and good evening, and I am delighted to be here with all of you as all of the minority members here tonight, and I want to thank our 2 senators for hosting us tonight, and I want to thank you for coming out, because what tonight is an exercise in pure democracy, and what you're going to see is perhaps one of the rarest things that you may ever see, and that is half of the state senate sitting in front of you saying absolutely nothing. And that is because it is just as important to listen as it is to talk. So tonight what we want you to see is how our Senate works collaboratively, how our Senate engages with each other, partners with each other, and more importantly even than that, is how we want to partner with you. Because that's the way government should work. It's the way that we avoid paralysis, it's the way that we avoid contention, and it's the way that we find common areas to work together and move forward for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I promise we'll do our best not to talk. It's very hard. But we want you to do your very best to talk. Tell us your ideas, tell us your thoughts, and help us to engage fully the idea of representative democracy. We value what you have to say a lot. We're happy that you're here, and we're happy that we're here with you. Thank you very much.
So we're going to ask the Senate members present to start at the stage right end of the table and just pass the mic down to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm State Senator Mike Baird, and I too want to welcome you here this evening. I represent Lexington, Concord, the city of Waltham, and 6 additional communities, and I'm delighted to be here.
And I'm happy to be here. I'm Pat Joe, and I represent Medford, Somerville, half of Winchester, and third of King.
Thank you. I'm Will Brownsberger. I represent a good chunk of Boston, from Back Bay out to Brighton, and then I also represent Watertown and Belmont.
And I just want to let everyone know that I represent the city of Gloucester and 16 other communities in the northeastern part of Massachusetts. I would list them all, but I don't believe we have the volunteer one. So thank you all very much.
I represent 27 communities in Hampshire, Franklin, and Worcester counties, 100 miles due west.
I'm State Senator Michael Roberts. I live in Westport. I represent Westport and 7 other communities in and around Greater Fall River.
Good evening, I'm State Senator Sal Domenico. I represent Cambridge, Everett, Chelsea, Charlestown, Alston, Brighton, and parts of Cambridge.
I'm State Senator Richard Ross, and I represent the Norfolk, Bristol, and Middlesex Senate District. It's 12 communities that run from Attleboro itself down the Rhode Island line all the way to Hawaii.
Hello, my name is Eric Lesser, and I come from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, which is about 90 miles west. I represent the cities of Springfield and Chicopee, along with the towns of Longmeadow, Hamden, Wilbraham, Ludlow, Belchertown, and Granby, and East Longmeadow.
Good evening, I'm Senator Mike Rush. I represent the Boston neighborhoods of West Roxbury, Rosendale, Hyde Park, Forest Hills, and the towns of Dedham, Westwood, Norwood, Dover, and Needham.
Hello, I'm Vinny DiMacedo. I am the state senator for the Plymouth-Barnstable district from America's hometown. My district is split by the Bourne and Sagamore bridges, going over here.
And John Keenan from the City of Quincy, representing Quincy, Braintree, Abington, Rockland, and Millbrook. Thank you for having us this evening.
I'm the late arriving senator. My name is Jim Welch, and I represent the Hampden district, which is represent the city of Springfield, West Springfield, and Chicopee, along with Senator Lesser. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so here's how we're going to work this logistically. As you guys know, when you came in, you had folks sign up under a topic, issues that you were interested in speaking about or just care about. And we want to make sure that we get a representation from each of the issues because we did have people sign up under each issue. The large bulk of people signed up under 3 topics: housing, education, and transportation. So what we're going to do is give 10 minutes to each of those to start. We're just going to call the first 4 or 5 people up until we get to 10 minutes. And then we're going to give, I'm just going to say 5 minutes to each of the subsequent, let's say 4, because that's too, it's a nice even amount of testimony, to the subsequent categories, just going in descending order of popularity. And if we have time, we'll circle back again through the topics to the next round of people. So that way we'll get a sampling. Anthony Thomas over here in the corner, if you can just give a wave, is floating with a mobile microphone. If it's difficult for you to get down to the mics here, you can just raise your hand when we call your name and he'll come to you. But other than that, we're going to call a few people at a time and just come down to the mics in the order that you were called so that we can keep this moving pretty quickly. We're going to start with housing, and I'm going to ask our esteemed chair of the Housing Committee, Linda Durskin-Afori, we could call the roll on housing.
Okay, so we have David McCarthy, Mass Association of Renters. David, you here? Okay, thank you for coming down. We also have Paul Yorkis next, and then also Eric Collins-Smith.
Okay, I'll be fast, don't worry. I won't take the full 2 minutes. Thank you very much for having us this evening. My name is David McCarthy. I'm actually with the Massachusetts Association of Realtors, and I am also president of the Greater Boston Association of Realtors, serving 57 communities around Greater Boston, and it's a 7,200 member population of our board. There's 2 issues that I wanted to speak quickly about, so I'll get right to it. One of the things that we talk a great deal about in the state is housing that is quote-unquote affordable for working-class families. And the Massachusetts Association of Realtors has filed a bill this past couple of weeks, a bill called an Act to Improve Housing Opportunities in the Massachusetts Economy, and we're an acronym calling it HOME. This bill, we believe, addresses housing stock, the lack of insufficient housing stock, and the potential homeowners in Massachusetts continue to face with increased housing costs. So some of the components of the bill include easing the production of cluster development housing and allowing in-law apartments by right, easing the dimensional variance burden, and allowing multi-family housing construction by right, and approving special permits by majority vote in each community. The second piece of legislation I'll talk about quickly is the foreclosure, short sale, and loan modification. As many of you know, that the federal government today, if a homeowner is delinquent or short on their mortgage in the short sale, that $30,000, $50,000, whatever the dollar amount is not taxable income. In Massachusetts, we still consider that taxable income, and it's called phantom income, and today they have to pay taxes on that, and it's part of our backlog of short sales. So we look for you guys to eliminate that tax. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, David.
Good evening. My name is Paul Yorkis. I am a resident of Medway, Massachusetts. I'm represented by State Senator Karen Spilka. I am here this evening as the Vice President for Government Affairs of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. I want to talk about 2 issues. First of all, across the Commonwealth, homeowners, sellers are being inconvenienced, damaged, and hurt because copper is being stolen from homes that are vacant. Whether they're investment properties or foreclosed properties, they're being damaged and they're not being able to be conveyed easily. The legislature has considered a bill, I think for 4 years now. We're hoping that that bill can move forward. Our association loves building communities. We believe that the legislature wants to build communities, and one of the ways to do that is by preventing homes in communities being torn apart by buildings. Second issue, Karen Spilka has introduced docket number 962, a bill dealing with charity license plates. Very simple. Lowers the number currently in legislation from 1,500 to 750. It allows small 501(c) entities like the Massachusetts Association of Realtors to gain funds that can be used to help people who are less fortunate among us, those who are homeless, suffering from hunger. And so I would sincerely appreciate it if you could move that bill forward. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you, Paul. Eric, can I also have Zakia Alake come up? And Laverne Stevens, the next.
Hi, my name is Eric Smith. I'm a member of the Emilo Tenants Association, and my senator is Sal Domenico. I'm here to support the progressive budget in Congress. I know it doesn't sound much about housing, but there's a woman that lives in my building named Maria who works 2 jobs. And she's 73 years old. She can't get a voucher because the waiting list is so long. I'm going to ask all of you up there if you can support the Budget for All, which is a resolution to tell our congressmen to vote for the progressive budget, which is coming up the day after the Republicans issue their budget in Congress. And what the Budget for All would expand affordable housing and reduce the waiting list for vouchers. Because people like Maria, it's criminal. She should be 73 years old and busting her tail. She should be able to retire with dignity. And I would just like to ask you, if possible, if you could circulate a letter urging our congressmen to support the progressive budget in Congress, the alternative budget. That would really help. It may take a few years to change because Republicans run Congress, but it would really be helpful if you could circulate a letter and get all of our congressmen, including mine, Representative Lynch, who didn't vote for it last year. You could all vote for the progressive budget in Congress. And also it would help, too, if you could all support the Budget for All resolution in the State House, which will put the State House, the legislature, on notice that you support the progressive budget, which I'm sure a lot of you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Zakia?
Good evening. I think I might need to pull it down just a little. Good evening. Your listening tour is a wonderful idea. But let me get my 2 cents in 2 minutes. I'm not just a person, a head of household back then who has survived predatory lending, bankruptcy, and foreclosure. I'm an organizer and an advocate. So naturally, I love to fight back. I love to strategize with other like-minded people because when we fight, we can win. And we do win. So this is a great idea. Thank you so much for implementing it. I can't leave it to others to inform you about the impact across the Commonwealth of the wholesale theft through predatory lending and ultimately foreclosure and what it did to our communities. Thank you. During the years that most subprime foreclosures were done, from 2005 to 2009, median wealth of Latinos dropped 66%. Median wealth of blacks dropped 53%. And median wealth of Asians dropped 54%. Our communities need justice regarding both the mortgages and the foreclosures. So, of course, I support the creation by the legislature of a court to handle foreclosure issues. Other speakers from MAPLE, Mass Alliance Against Predatory Lending, like myself, will elaborate on this urgent need. I trust, know, and believe that moving forward, we need some creative solutions to the challenge of affordable home ownership. See, predatory lending is akin to the old short con game, 3-card Monte, where the victim or the mark is tricked into betting a sum of money on the assumption that they can find the money card among the 3 face-down playing cards. But what they don't realize is that there's another player. There's a shill that tries to convince them, bet on that one. I know this game. We can do this. For me, that sure was my mortgage company. I bet the house and I lost. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colin Killick, Karen Carson.
Thank you, esteemed senators. I work for the Disability Policy Consortium, and I'm here to speak to you about, you've heard today, you've heard under many circumstances about the dire crisis, the dire lack of affordable housing. I'd like to speak to you in particular about the impact of this shortage on people with disabilities. We know of more than 33,000 people with disabilities statewide just who are on waiting lists for various housing voucher programs, and that leaves out a large number of them. There is a dire shortage of affordable, accessible housing in this state. It leads to things like a homelessness rate for people with disabilities that is more than double that among able-bodied people. It leads to a large and growing number of young disabled people who are living in nursing homes, not because they want or need to be there, but because they have nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, the state has a voucher program specifically for people with disabilities. When it was this is called the Alternative Housing Voucher Program. It's line item 7004-9030. When it was created, it provided 800 vouchers for people with disabilities. Today it has fallen to 420 with a waiting list of more than 2,000 names. And that is merely at the half or so of housing authorities we could get numbers from. This is a dire shortage. These are people who with particularly strong need, with medical conditions that are especially damaged by being out on the street. I urge you to put your resources, your time, your energy towards increasing funding for this vitally needed program. If you would like more details, I have fact sheets available. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Carmen.
We are going to shift over to the education topic. The first several people that we have signed up under education, there's a couple of people that signed up that didn't list their name, and they just list Families for Excellent Schools. So I'm just going to go to the first name that I have from Families for Excellent Schools, and you could, oh, I'm sorry, is this the last person?
There was one more. You called one more, last person. Yes, exactly.
Sorry about that.
Yes, hi. My name is Karen Carson. I'm with the Warren Hall Tenants Association and the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants. And I wanted to bring to your attention two particular pieces of legislation. One is House Docket number 3228, which is an act to prevent and respond to bullying of elderly and disabled residents of public or privately owned, subsidized multifamily housing developments. Because I have experienced bullying in many of the housing that I have been in, and this is not a joke. Also, I would like to speak about the Statewide Enabling Act, which is now under Senate number 1215, an act to preserve affordable housing. I've lived all my adult life in affordable housing because I've had to. Unfortunately, I have seen how corporate landlords have become bullies and have threatened my independent living that I have worked so hard. I worked, I paid taxes. At Warren Hall, the copper pipes were stolen from this antique building. So this is, we've seen bullying of the tenants, we've seen poor living conditions, and the tenants have organized to prevent this. We do need our legislators to create laws that will prevent these sort of things. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Sorry for that stumble there. Okay, so we have someone from Families for Excellent Schools who lives on Tupelo Street. If you can come down, the next person is the same thing, we don't have a name, but lives on Cummins Highway. And then we have Natalie Chang-Diaz, no relation, I'm guessing, from Chelsea. So if you guys can come forward.
Hi, thank you for having me here. My name is Natalie Chang-Diaz.
I'm a mother from Chelsea. I have 2 children that attend a charter school in East Boston called the Edward Brooke Charter School. I knew when it was time for middle school, my kids needed a different option than public school. And I've never had to do this growing up as a child myself. This is all new to me, the charter schools. And thank God we have that option. My children are so lucky and fortunate to have gotten in through a lottery into the Edward Brooke Charter School. Last year, the 6th grade students, of which one of them is my son, got the best MCAS test scores in the state. Why did they stop at 8th grade? Why? What am I going to do next? Next year he is in 8th grade. The year after that, I don't know where he's going to go. And the school system should clamor for students like my son and the others at the Brook and figuring out how to have excellent school academic rigor. This is a school system that outperforms most others, and they are 2 of the best charter schools in East Boston, the Excel and the Brook. And these are 2 schools that should be allowed to expand and grow. Look at the charter schools, see who's outperforming the others, and lift the cap, please.
Hi, thank you for having us here and for listening to us. I'm sorry I'm losing my voice. My name is Liliana Castro, and I'm also a parent from the Good Charter School. I'm sorry. Even though my voice is gone. So I'm a parent from the Brook Charter School as well, and I'm here to support the better education for the children. My son had an IEP because when he was born he was out of breath, and he had an IEP for learning disability and some kind of developmental delay. So my son kept getting passed on into 5th grade in the regular public schools. When he got to Brook Charter School, he didn't know how to read, he didn't know how to write, he didn't know much. So in 2 years, they bumped my son to grade level. Right now, my son is like the first one in math in his grade. He's in 6th grade right now, and he has learned so much. So I have 3 boys at the charter school, and they all have tremendous growth in the few years that we are there. So I'm also supporting the education, better schools for the children in the charter schools. Also, I would like to ask you to please also support immigration, because as a single parent that I am of 4 boys and a U.S. Marine son, it's been very hard, and the school has supported me tremendously. So I think immigration and education go hand in hand, because without it, I wouldn't know what to do. So please reunite my families as I'm suffering like a single mom, and keep our education and expand our better education for the children, like the child school is doing for many boys. Thank you. Thank you.
Next to me is Stacy Marlowe, Rolando, and I'm sorry I'm having trouble making out the last name, Riva maybe, and then Selena Cole.
I'm not Stacy. Donnell Singleton, Tupelo Street, young. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I have 2 sons at charter schools here in the city of Boston. Previously to that, they were at from the Mildred to the Armberger to the Academy, Dorchester Collegiate Academy, and it is shameful to say that I believe all these schools failed my children. Currently, they're at Up Academy, South Boston, which is fabulous. There are several things that I pray that our legislature is able to address. First and foremost is the safety and or lack of in our elementary schools, our middle schools, and our high schools. We have youth that are being bullied, not just in the school, but on the way to school, especially in the Mattapan area. Also, too, there is a disservice being done to our children in regards to the level of expectations placed on them and or not placed on them by school teachers, the school system in general. And this is very concerning to me due to the fact that what are they going to do when it's time to go to high school? What are their dreams going to be if they actually never think about college, if they don't think about becoming politicians or civil service workers? So there needs to be something done in regards to our curriculum to make sure that our children are able to compete statewide and nationally. And also, too, we have to understand that if, in fact, our Boston public schools are failing us, then we have no other thing to do except to, i.e., turn to independent schools, turn to private schools, and then how can we turn to them if in the younger years our children are not adequately taught to even be able to pass the SSATs and things of that nature. So hopefully our legislature will begin to think about that and make some changes. Thank you. Donnell Singleton.
Good evening, I'm Stacey Marlowe. Thank you for taking the time out to listen this evening. I'm here on education. While I have two sons, one is in Boston Public School, one is in the charter school. I haven't given up on Boston Public School. While I don't think my sons are being served to the degree that they should be, I believe that Boston Public Schools need serious overhaul and start providing a quality education. This is the conversation that my parents had when I was going into first grade, and they decided to put me into private school. Private school isn't an option for me. Charter schools are. My son is in 8th grade at the Rogers Middle School, which is closing at the end of this year. He hasn't performed, the school hasn't performed to the level I expect, so I'm often left to supplement his education. Thank goodness I can do that with the help of the internet, the help of libraries, the help of some family members, but not everyone is able to do that. So I would encourage you not only to lift the cap, because we do need options, we need choices, we need variety, but also to overhaul the Boston public school system so that parents who don't feel like they want to go to the charter school, private school, independent school route can have faith in the Boston public school system to provide their children with the education that they need in order to be successful. We have some of the greatest colleges and universities here in Massachusetts, but our children are not prepared to enter them. A lot of them have to take courses in order to catch up, to be on the level coming into college. That's unfair, and it's unacceptable. I expect more from Massachusetts, I expect more from Boston, and I'm here to help to bring us to the level we need to be at. I would encourage you to lift the cap, but I would encourage you to work with our new superintendent, Dr. Chang, to change Boston Public Schools to give us the education for our children they deserve, they want, and they actually need in order to compete on a national level. Thank you.
Not saying Mr. Riva, I'm going to just ask again if Salida, if I'm saying that right, sir?
Adelaide will be speaking in place of Salida, and I will be translating for her.
Thank you. Mi nombre es Adelaida Colón. Tengo 18 años de trabajar en Tufts University como trabajadora de limpieza.
My name is Adelaide Colon, and I have been working for Tufts University in cleaning for 18 years.
Siempre he estado orgullosa de formar parte de esta institución.
I've always been very proud to work for this institution.
Me encanta ver a los jóvenes prepararse para el futuro y en mayor o menor medida nosotros hacemos que su estancia en el campus sea más agradable y productiva.
I have always loved to work for these young people who are preparing for their future and to work towards making the campus a better place.
Hoy venimos con la cara triste.
Today we've arrived with a very sad face.
Desde hace semanas escuchamos que la universidad está planeando recortes que podría hacer que casi la mitad de nosotros perdiéramos el empleo.
A few weeks ago we learned that at least half of us may be laid off from our jobs.
Y los que quieren empleados le aumentarán la carga de trabajo hasta el punto que será imposible mantener el campus limpio y bonito como hasta ahora lo hemos tenido.
And those of us who will be left behind will be there with double of the workload and the impossibility of maintaining the beautiful campus we've always maintained.
En mi caso yo tengo a mi esposo enfermo, tuvo cáncer, lleva años sin trabajar.
In my case, my husband had cancer many years ago and was unable to work.
Mi seguro médico peligra.
My health insurance is my life.
Amenaza con hacer recorte que será imposible mantener el campo limpio en estos momentos.
The threats of losing our jobs and the inability to keep our work.
Nosotros limpiamos 30 y 35 baños y hasta 40.
We clean up to 40 bathrooms a day.
Y quieren darnos mucho más.
And they want to give us a lot more work.
Le pedimos a las autoridades a ustedes que por favor nos apoyen en este momento porque necesitamos de cada uno de ustedes.
We're asking for your support because we need each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gracias, y notamos a sus colegas ahí en la audiencia. Gracias. We're going to move on to transportation.
We have Patricia Sobavaro, Mass Bike, Damarius. What is it? Damaris Velasquez, sorry. And then we also have Raheem Abbasi and Stephen Gavin. Okay, got it.
Hello, Senators. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I'm here to talk about making the roads safer, not only for me, but also for you, believe it or not. There's a bill out there called the Safe Driving Bill, HD 1650. This is the third time we're going to try to work on this bill because we believe it's a public safety issue. It's not only a bill that would benefit a specific group of people. I have to tell you, about a few years ago, I was in a car accident on Washington and Valentine Street. The car flipped over, not my car, the other lady's car, with a 2-year-old baby because she was going too fast. Thank God we both had insurance. As I think about this bill, I wonder what the mother would have done if I didn't have insurance. Because I'm sure that, because of this accident, this child had to go to the hospital many times. So this bill, right now, what it's trying to do is put the attention on the fact that it's currently there's no path for drivers to, it's hard to comply with the driving laws in Massachusetts because if you don't have a social security number, you're not able to get a driver's license. We're trying to raise awareness just to let you know that because there is no immigration reform going on at the federal level, you know what, these individuals are here, they're not going to go away, are immigrants, and everybody here wants our roads to be safer. So what we're trying to do is to ask you to consider making our roads safer by giving a license to individuals so that they can be trained, they can be insured, and that they also will be able to abide by the laws of Massachusetts. We really hope that we will be able to talk more in the future, but this is not just about a community, this is about making roads safer for you and for myself and for our families. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Damaris Velasquez, and I thank you for giving us this opportunity. I am the Director of Programs of Agencia Alpha, which is located here in Boston, but I'm also an active member of Congregation Live Judah, which is here in Boston too. And members of our agency and members of our community come from all over the place in the metropolitan area of Boston and from other cities. And we're here also to ask you to please just listen to us when the time comes for us to visit you in your office about this safe driving bill. And as Patricia was saying, this is not a bill related to immigration issues only. This is a bill related to safety. Public safety, and it's also a bill that, if you can look at it carefully, it's a bill that is related to the economy of our state, because when people are trained, when people are licensed, and when people are insured, they also spend money on buying cars, paying for insurance, traveling with their families, so this also will help our economy. So we just want to raise that awareness and ask you to please, next time when you listen about this bill, not only pay attention to what the media says about it, because the media focuses on one person only, one city only, and one community only. This is for all of us. This would be a very good benefit for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you.
Good evening, Senators. My name is Stephen Gahn. I'd like to really thank you all for being here. This is an amazing turnout, and I live in the Mission Hill section of Boston, and so Chang-Diaz is my state senator. Just real quickly, I just heard on WBUR, either today or yesterday, that Governor Baker has recommended in his fiscal year 2016 budget recommendations for $190 million for the MBTA. And I believe there's probably an amount which is larger than they probably have received before in a state appropriation. So I just would encourage all of you to support that during your budget debates. Or not larger than that if you feel that is definitely necessary. As you know, the MBTA needs every penny that it can get. I have lived in the state for about 20 years. I've used all modes of public transportation, ferry boats, regional transit lines, the regional transit buses, the CATA down in Cape Ann at Gloucester, and also the Southeast Regional Transportation Authority down in the Bedford area, and then also the one down in Hyannis as well as commuter boats and commuter trains and stuff as well. So please support as much as you can public transportation throughout the entire Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I just want to let you know too that this morning on the tour, about half an hour or so was spent around public transportation. We know this is an issue that obviously we're going to have to tackle during this session. So we're here listening all around the state, and that is one of the number one issues that always come up. Thank you for sharing. Who was next? I think I said Rahim. And okay, wait, I also said mass bike. Are you Richard? Yeah. Okay, come on, Richard.
A quick note, if you guys can just come on down really right as soon as your name is called, and just be ready to go as soon as the person before you finish, so that'll help us save time.
Got it. Hey, Richard Freeze, resident of Lexington, new executive director of Mass Bike. And I am one of those nut jobs that you've seen riding the last month, but I did get to work with no loss of commute time. I was able to park every day. You guys are all thinking, look at this knucklehead, and look at you guys, look at you knuckleheads in cars. I really urge that this is not about nut jobs like me. This is about our most important citizen we have. When you really look at maybe what we do the best in Massachusetts, we are the world's largest college town. And my son goes to Suffolk, and they tell these kids, do not bring a car. So here are all these kids coming to our college town, and it's a matter of how are we going to treat them. If you live in Lexington like I do, you can see how a little bit of great bike facilities have done great things, produced great results, made it quieter, safer, healthier. We have two mills in front of you right now, the Baltimore Users Mill, which actually belongs knuckleheads like me with people like cops and tow truck drivers and EMTs that are working alongside the roads, which is really dangerous. It's gotten more dangerous as it's gotten so narrow. The other thing that we're looking to do with your support is we worked so hard to build these great bike lanes and to make this great progressive infrastructure that is drawing companies all over the nation that want to locate here. Now they're here because of the growing bike infrastructure we have, but now it's become a parking lot, a loading zone, a cab zone, and we've added some legislation that we'd like you to support that makes it illegal to block these things. It's not the place to drop off your wife and kids and open the door. It's actually the place for the bikes and those users. So I really urge you to consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Rahim Abbasi. I'm a taxi driver and activist and a voter. 25 years old, born and raised in Boston and Brighton. My family owns and operates a single taxi in the city of Boston. I'm speaking here today to ask why the legislators here have been silent on the issue of transportation network carriers and so-called ride-sharing services operating in the Commonwealth, despite being illegal under Chapter 90 of the state statute and CMR 540, Chapter 2. The condition of the taxi industry, and most importantly, the hardworking drivers who generate all of the income derived from the entire industry, is just a single reflection of the pressures on people of color, immigrants, and the working class, some of whom left everything behind to live in this country, which is known for laws and justice. Despite a nationally reported action by members of the Boston Taxi Drivers Association, last May of which I'm a member, the Patrick administration tried to quietly push through regulations at the 11th hour that would give carte blanche to TNC to destroy the taxi industry, including the jobs of thousands of drivers and small owners such as myself across the Commonwealth. The reason I'm here today is to ask you why you've been silent on the issue, leaving no one to stand up for us on Beacon Hill and in local government. If this state of affairs plagued any other industry, there would be immediate condemnation and bills filed to prevent such a takeover of communities that you represent. Instead, only one of you out of 200 legislators in the State House have spoken out in support of us. And by remaining quiet, it makes it look like you're supporting a multi-billion-dollar Wall Street-backed multinational corporation that wants to gentrify and outsource our local economy. Thank you.
We'll move on to economic development, jobs, and economic justice. We have several people who are interested in the issue, but the first folks that checked that they wanted to speak, someone, again, no name, but someone from Boston Raiders, Inc. Is that the same gentleman? Okay, I'm going to keep going then. Anthony Stubblefield. Mr. Singleton, do you want to speak also on economic development?
Yes, I'm with Boston Raiders. According to, got some stats real quick. From the Boston Redevelopment Authority, December, actually March 2014 Research Division. Unemployment definitely is plaguing our community here in the city of Boston, state of Massachusetts. But specifically for the city of Boston, 9.6% of Boston's population is unemployed. Of that, Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan have astronomical numbers. And if you, according to the stats from the city of Boston, Mattapan is at 19.7%, Roxbury 16.8%, and Dorchester 6.2%. So these three boroughs in our city are 3 times pretty much what the state of Massachusetts unemployment rate is. We have issues in our community related to unemployment, which of course brings forth crime. It brings forth, also in direct correlation to that, you have a high school dropout rate in those same areas. So my question is, what are we going to begin to do as a legislator to do more in terms of quarry reform, and also to do more in terms of working with local nonprofits who can bring forth something in terms of workforce development to better train our community residents so that not only are they employed, but they're employed at a living wage. Because with no living wage, they can't afford housing. Without housing, we have a rough situation. So it's all collectively coinciding with each other. So I urge you guys to figure out a way that we can work collectively, again, with nonprofit organizations, neighborhood organizations, to bring forth better systems in which we can foster economic growth and also entrepreneurialism in order to open up more businesses in the community. Perhaps in many of the vacant buildings, we could have more restaurants, we could have more daycares, we could have things of that nature that can aid to our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to let John Carlton or Carlton-Foss and then Luke Finfor know that they're on deck. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out tonight, and I'm going to touch on a couple of little things here. I'm a public safety officer. I call myself a public safety officer because we're responsible for the public safety, and we work for you. You're our bosses. I work for the state of Massachusetts. I live in South Boston, and I work at the Boston Convention Center Authority. There are some familiar faces here tonight that came to support a couple of union meetings. I know that Sal was there. Let me just give you a quick background. 6 years ago, in 1999, officers organized to become members of 32BJ SEIU. When I started working at the convention center, now you would think I worked for the state, so I'm making all this big money. That's what the media tells everyone. In 6 years, I made $14.65. While we've made some good progress, we still earn less than other security officers in the private sector who do similar work. We do make a little more than some. We are currently in a contract negotiation which is becoming quite tumultuous with the MCCA, Mass Convention Center Authority, and we are fighting to receive wages and benefits equal to other officers in the downtown market. I'll be quick. However, if we win a contract, and it'll be a pretty good contract if we can get it done, there'll still be thousands of officers protecting you every day, rushing in when you rush out in emergencies. We hope that you can back Senator Donnelly, who has filed legislation SB 1392, which will create a prevailing wage for security officers, ensuring the public sector officers are treated with dignity and respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Carlton-Foss, do I say it right?
Carlton-Foss, yes.
Thank you.
I'm John Carlton-Foss, and I was one of the two businessmen on the advisory board for a program in clean energy. It ended up being clean energy entrepreneurship in the community colleges in Massachusetts. And I would suggest this as a possible model for economic development in entrepreneurship and clean energy everywhere in the Commonwealth. The gentleman two before me spoke about the need for this kind of thing. And Roxbury Community College, Bristol Community College, and Springfield were all very strong leaders. It's important for economic justice. It's important for dealing with the energy and environment crisis that is upon us at this point. And it doesn't necessarily need an appropriation. It's sort of stimulation to get and allow the community colleges to work together. So very small amounts of money can have very powerful impacts. This is what we want. I would mention that in the first 9 graduates, most became entrepreneurs. So this is exactly what we want.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Can you come on down?
Good evening. I'm Lou Finfer. I'm the director of the Massachusetts Communities Action Network and a resident of Dorchester, constituent of Senator Josina Fori. I want to thank Senator Rosenberg for initiating this listening tour around the state and also the time you've given unions and community groups at other times to meet with you. We appreciate that. We're also the co-chairs of the Raise Up Massachusetts, who worked very hard over the last 2 years to collect 360,000 signatures, which helped drive the passage of the increase in the minimum wage and the earned sick time. Under budget, I wanted to mention a big concern about youth jobs and youth violence prevention programs. Only 1 in 4 youth from cities who apply for youth jobs get one because of the amount of money and how crucial that first job is when youth unemployment has been so high. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention the state's job training programs. The major part of the state's jobs training programs was eliminated by Governor Baker when he made the recent 9C cut. He cut $2.5 million, the whole Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund program. He also cut the hospitality and advanced manufacturing program at $12.5 million. Hopeful about the earned income tax credit because Senator Rosenberg spoke on it and now Governor Baker spoke on it. I want to lift up on the legislation the issue of mass incarceration, which wrecks communities and families and neighborhoods, and different things can be done about that. There's legislation been filed that a number of you have been involved in, and that's so important to move. And the last thing on revenue, it's a 3-act play. We only hear about Act 2, that healthcare costs are going up faster than revenue, so we have a deficit. But we need to bring out Act 1, the $3 billion in tax cuts that we made, mostly which benefited wealthy people and corporations that got us here, and the need for Act 3, how can we pass revenue progressively, especially in a progressive way, so those who make the most pay their fair share so we can really invest in our people and our communities. Thank you very much.
We're on to public safety and criminal justice. We need Peter Lover, Charlotte Simpson, Norma Wasson.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Lover. I live in Cambridge. I'm with Boston Youth Sanctuary Movement. We're an interfaith group of congregations in the greater Boston area for immigrant justice. And I'm also working with in the Safe Driver Coalition, which has about 30 organizations in it. So there's an opportunity for you all to reverse what our country is doing, which is destroying immigrant communities every day. We're jailing 33,000 immigrants a day, and we're deporting hundreds of thousands of people a year. And we can't do anything about it on a national level. We know that because of the reactionary Congress we have. But we can do something in Massachusetts to help alleviate this terrible problem. Why not welcome immigrants who are contributing so much to our society? Why can't we do that? So there are 3 bills that can help us. One is the Safe Driver Bill, HB 1650, sponsored by Representative Farley Bouvier and Senator Jalen. And the Safe Driver Bill, Damaris and Patricia already talked about it, would allow residents in the state of Massachusetts to the opportunity, regardless of immigrant status, to get a license to drive in the state of Massachusetts, making our roads safer and making our immigrant community a lot safer. The Massachusetts Trust Act, SD 1698 and HB 3204, would say that the local police do not have to turn over people to ICE, the immigration police, if they stop them and arrest them. They wouldn't have to do that. That would recreate trust between immigrant communities and the police. And the third one is the education equity legislation, SD 599, which Senator Chang-Diaz is sponsoring, which would allow residents here, regardless of immigrant status, to get in-state tuition. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for an opportunity to talk about my passion, criminal justice reform. I'd like to speak to several bills. The pretrial and bail reform bill, where incarcerating people not on the basis of whether they're a risk to the community at the cost of $100 a day. It ruins their lives, and the bail might be as low as $50. So we're incarcerating them because they're poor, not because they're a risk to us. Secondly, I'm in favor of families against mandatory minimums. If somebody is addicted to drugs, they may be selling drugs just to support their habit. But that doesn't mean that they should get a mandatory minimum sentence. We're warehousing far too many people in this state. And at South Bay Correctional Facility, it costs $47,000 a year to incarcerate somebody. It's a year in jail or a year in jail. I'd like to stop this. And also, thank you, Senator Chang-Diaz, for your support for the alternative sentencing legislation too. Thank you.
Hi, thanks very much for hearing us this evening. My name is Norma Wassel, and I work for the Committee for Public Counsel Services. So really in the trenches in all of your counties. I'm around the state every day in my capacity. I also am a founder of the Massachusetts Bail Fund, which some of us founded 4 years ago because what we were seeing in our courts, in district court particularly, in all your counties, people with high rate of substance abuse, mental illness, homelessness, a lot of veterans now, being held on very, very low bail. So our bail fund runs a revolving bail fund. We bail people out from $50 to $500. Last 2 years, in 2013, 2014, the bail we posted average was $350. So we have a two-tiered system here where when people are arrested and can't afford bail that you or I could easily get from family or friends or a bank account, people are being kept in jail at a high rate. So as a taxpayer, I'm concerned about us maintaining the two-tiered system that's high in cost and want to support your efforts on having criminal justice reform a priority, particularly the pretrial and bail reform bill. Other states have instituted that, they've implemented that, it's saved cost of incarceration per daily rate, it's improved public safety, providing intervention at a crucial time in arrest, and increases access to justice regardless of your income. So I want to really have you look at the mandatory minimum bill, the bail for reform, instituting pretrial services, the omnibus criminal justice bill, to look at how we can, in fact, have a moratorium on jails before we look at building any new jails to see do we need them and what are they doing in terms of cost or providing public safety. So thanks very much for your support and I'm looking at this over the next year.
Bob, Scott Murphy, Nancy Warren, and Hope Pat.
In this area is public safety.
Yes, it is.
It kind of crosses into education as well. I want to thank all of you for supporting the bullying legislation 5 years ago. And I understand it was difficult to come to terms, difficult to craft the wording of a legislation such as that, but it was much needed. And people say it was watered down or whatever, but after 5 years, let's go back and take a look at what it's done, what the results are, and what needs to be done to improve it. It's a very important piece of legislation. Everything that goes on in our schools is very important. Also, as far as access to public structures, last time I was in here, I saw a movie, The Last Shot, made by some kids from local neighborhoods. A wonderful film. A lot of those kids were MEDCO students. When I moved to Massachusetts 28 years ago, the MEDCO program baffled. I just couldn't understand why these towns would support and open their schools to kids from the city. And I'm a public school graduate from the Chicago Public Schools. I went to high school in Chicago, and as I lived here for 28 years, I've become a firm believer in the MEDCO program. Get some of these alumni back into these events and schools and be role models for the kids and provide solutions to all of us. They've learned a lot. They're incredible people. So I want to group some of them back in. But thank you a bunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you for offering citizens the opportunity to express their hopes for legislative actions this coming year. My name is Nancy Bren. I live in Auburndale and I'm a retired state employee. I have been involved for the past 2 years in learning about our criminal justice system, its failures, and new programs which would bring about a restorative, rehabilitative approach to change the current paradigm of punishment. I am convinced that we are part of a nationwide movement drawn to act by Michelle Alexander in her book, The New Jim Crow, and the recent displays of racism and militarism in police departments in some parts of the country. I've arranged for people to engage with and learn from key leaders, including Senator Jamie Eldridge, about restorative justice, reentry issues, overcrowding of pretrial units where people yet to be convicted are held in prison, the cost of mandatory minimum sentencing for minor drug offenses. I believe we must look at the broad portion of our population as the core of our prison population. Remove the people who are experiencing substance abuse, mental illness, homelessness, and poverty are the core of our prison population. We must remove punishment and separation from society as the solution and create public health-based community services which can address their needs. You in the legislature are key partners in this effort. Please support bail reform, alternatives to pretrial detention, repeal of across-the-board mandatory minimum sentencing, restorative justice practices in our courts, ending collateral sanctions for former prisoners at the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and compassionate release of aging prisoners. We must connect the dots. Nothing less than a radical restructuring of society is required.
Thank you, Nancy. Oh, come on down. Also, Omar Franklin, if you could come down, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm Hope Ha from Red One, and I
actually am here to speak also for criminal justice reform. I think it's been expressed very well. One of the problems with unemployment here in these communities is that so many people have been the victim of the criminal justice system. They've had Corey records heaped on them because they had minor drug problems as youth, which it's almost impossible to get rid of that record because it goes on in your driving license records. Even though we have had Corey reform, the motor vehicle department has not erased Corey from their records. So there are bills pending. Thank you, Senator. Chang-Diaz, there's a bill, the Act to Increase Neighborhood Safety and Opportunity, SD 1874, House 3425, I think. And that's really important. And I also think that if we would reform pretrial, if we didn't put everybody in jail before they've ever been convicted, a lot of money could be freed up because those people, not only are we paying $48,000 a year to keep them in jail before they're ever convicted, but also they're losing their children, they're losing their jobs, they've been not able to pay taxes, and it's decimates these communities. So please, criminal justice reform, high time. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here. I greatly appreciate to see everyone's face. My name is Omar Franklin. I'm a 53-year-old resident in Boston all my life. I currently live in my parents' home that I grew up in as a child. I have children, I have grandchildren in the city, and I'm here today to express my absolutely fear and disgust with the way that the public safety is operating in the city by the Boston Police Department. I've been at the front lines all my life since 1991, fighting on the front lines to prevent violence in our community. Also want to acknowledge Bruce Tarr, who may not recognize me at this time, but I recognize you. And also, within the city, we have a system that's not conducive to keeping the community safe. We have the third highest unsolved murder rate in the nation. Dorchester, Roxbury, and Alabama. This was said last year in the national news. My nephew also was the last murder of 2008. No resolution, no answers from the Boston Police Department. But needless to say, as I engage the community, and I have plenty of affidavits, letters from the community, I work with the Violence Prevention Program, Neighborhood Justice Network, I work with many city agencies, the community centers, but what I found is that the Boston Police Department is not sincere in their efforts in stemming the tide of violence. And as I said, we can look at the unsolved murder rate to determine that. We have the highest and third highest in the nation. I'm a community activist. Right now, I'm in the midst of a traumatic situation with the Boston Police Department as well. I also take individuals into my home. Right now, I have homeless kids who are in foster care that come to my home, but yet still I'm harboring what they say criminals. These are young children that I've devoted my life to for the last 30 some odd years to help. If they are in trouble, I help them. If they're cold, I put them in my house. If they need to be fed, I feed them. I'm wrong for doing that. That's what they're telling me. And I think that's absolutely not right. To conclude, 6 months ago, a young man in the community came and shot 7 to 8 gunshots at my house, at individuals walking into my home. I brought it to the Boston Police Department, to Detective Mason, and it's been 6 months now, and I haven't heard a word back from Detective Mason. The police department did nothing about it, but yet still, 4 days ago, they came to my house with an armored car, 10,000 watt floodlights, military tactics, infrared beams pointed into my home. Now, I work with the community. These police officers know me. They broke down my door, destroyed my home, destroyed all my musical equipment that I was using to work with the kids. And now I have nothing there to work with them with. But yet still, I'm helping these kids and I'm providing to the community. And it's because if they don't like these kids, that's not the problem. If they come to me, and guess what? I don't know why, they all come to my home.
Okay, so this is what I thank you, Mr. Franklin, for speaking this evening. So what I want to do is Jacob from my office is in my district. So if you could give us some information, we'll follow up with you and follow up in terms of with Commissioner Evans and everything. Okay, so we'll follow up after this. Next, we're going to switch over to Health and Human Services. First two we've got our Valerie Spain, Healthcare for All, and then Harriet. I don't know if it's Randig or Randig. And then behind them on revenue and taxes, we have Isaiah Earlis and Adrian Perez.
Hi, thank you, senators, for being here, and thank you, Senator DiDomenico, who's my senator. My name is Valerie Spain. I'm from Cambridge, and I'm here tonight to talk about dental benefits for Mass Health. I'm an advocate and a citizen with the organization Healthcare for All. Dental care is integral to people's health, and it shouldn't be neglected. Your mouth should not be separated from the rest of your body when it comes to health care. It never made sense, and it doesn't make sense. When people lose their teeth, they can't work. In 2010, dental benefits were cut for adults on Mass Health. Some procedures have been added in, but we still need to have some work done. I have type 1 diabetes, and I lost my job last year in October. I was just about to have my dental, my yearly dental workup, and I had to cancel that, and I still have not been able to reschedule that. I don't have dental disease. I'd like to keep it that way, but I can't reschedule that until I've got some coverage. Untreated dental disease, especially in people with diabetes, leads to other medical issues, including heart disease. Parents who don't have coverage, those children also tend to not get dental care, which leads to problems down the road. So I really urge you to recognize the connection between dental care and overall health, and to please restore full dental benefits for Mass Health. Thank you.
Ms. Redmond?
Yes.
Right here? Yeah. Good evening, and thank you very much for being here to listen. Thank you, Senator Jelen, for all the work that you do. My name is Harriet Randby. I'm a resident of Somerville, and I am an advocate and consumer with Healthcare for All. And I'm here to bring up that no matter the efforts we've made to provide health care for everyone in the Commonwealth, we have some serious gaps. And there's a bill currently before you called Barrier-Free Care. And in this case, barrier-free does not mean physical access. It means the financial burden caused by out-of-pocket expense for co-pays. This has a particular impact on the individuals who have long-term health care issues, such as diabetes, or hypertension, or cholesterol, and especially also mental health issues. And the problem is, without looking at this issue, without really considering it, there's so many institutions and employers here who force their employees to choose. There's tier 1. Well, if you're in the $100,000 bracket of income, there's tier 2 if you're in the $60,000, and there's tier 3 if you're in the, you see what I mean? The problem is, your health care gets boiled down to money, even when you're employed. And just one little tag on, I have had to have dental work done, which has me $3,600 in debt, and I live on a very tiny income. And that'll be paying off because I have a compassionate dentist for the next 4 years, okay? So both these issues of barrier-free care, to consider even if people are working, out-of-pocket expense may have them rationing their medication or not taking it at all. Thank you so much for considering.
Hello.
senior at Boston Community Leadership Academy. I'm disappointed on where the state has put its priority. The word "we can't" is used too often in the State House. Can we fully fund a 21st century transportation system? We can't. Can we fully fund universal pre-K or at least the schools we have now? We can't. Can we invest more hope? Can we invest more hope? I'm sorry. Can we invest more to help our 200,000 kids in the state living in poverty and our 100 homeless families? We can. But last year, the State House decided it can invest $1 billion to expand the Boston Convention Center. And meanwhile, hundreds of millions of dollars taxes cuts from corporations that don't need it continues. And the State House is happy to lose about $3 billion every year because of tax cuts, allowing the rich not to pay their fair share in the state. In fact, while the poor pay almost 9.7% of their income in taxes, the very rich pay only 6.4%. Is that fair? We need more revenue in our state in order to do the things we all agree we need and deserve. I ask that you consider a budget that raises revenue, increase equitable funding in education and transportation. If I can borrow the phrase, yes we can. Thank you.
We're going to move on quickly. If I don't see Adrian in the next couple seconds. Okay, then Vanessa Villanueva.
I think they checked.
They have the lead. Okay. Then we are going to go to the next category. Marva Sorokin. This is under Elder Affairs.
For the Boston home. All right, Mom.
Good evening. It's a real privilege to participate in this extraordinary conversation. I'm Marva Sorokin. I'm the director of the Boston Home. We are a nursing home and a center of excellence for adults with progressive neurological diseases, primarily multiple sclerosis. We were founded in Dorchester in 1881, and we thank Senator Linda Dostina-Forey for all of her support. We serve the Commonwealth, and I'm representing our residents, our outpatients, and the thousands of families we touch throughout the year. I have 2 points in my brief remarks. One is as an example of the Boston Home to explain to you the diversity of people who require nursing home care, and also to ask for your support of the stabilization bill that was submitted by Senator Harriet Chandler. The Boston Home is the only facility of its kind in New England and only one of a handful nationwide. We touch the lives of thousands of people. Our residents, the average age is about 57, with onset of disease between the ages of 20 and 40, and you may all have been touched by one of these diseases in your family or your constituents. Our residents are significantly disabled. They are a community. They reside with us for years. They're voters, and they're very, very vital. And they're vital because of all the services that we can provide in terms of technology and keep people very actively involved in terms of their own lives. We collaborate with students throughout the greater Boston area, MIT, BC, and BU, so in many ways we are educating the next generation of people who are going to care for the people who need services. And we are a licensed nursing home. 97% of our residents are on Mass Health. We're at the top 1% of all nursing homes in terms of Mass Health providers. Our workforce, which is about 220, is diverse. 60% of them live in Boston, and we provide scholarships for career advancement, and many of our nurses were CNAs at one point in time. So that just kind of gives you not only an example of what the Boston Home is, but the meaning of over 400 nursing homes that we have in the Commonwealth. The stabilization bill, which was an act relative to stabilizing...
Barbara, we need to ask you to wrap up.
I'm sorry.
You get your time.
Okay. Anyway, I think many of you have supported the stabilization bill. It's very important to support the workforce, which is almost 50,000 people who support our chronically ill, frail, and disabled residents of the Commonwealth. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Now, civic engagement, elections, and good government, Jim Kilgore. Jim, okay, thank you.
I'm Jim Kilgore. I live in Jamaica Plain. I'm a volunteer for the all-volunteer past mass amendment. Our focus is to get big money out of the political process. We have an amendment to the state constitution. We want to thank those of you who have already been co-signers and encourage others to support the bill once it becomes a bill. It doesn't even have a number yet, I understand. What will you be supporting? You'll be supporting, number one, corporations are not people and may be regulated. The rights afforded the human inhabitants of the Commonwealth under this Constitution are not applicable to corporations, limited liability companies, any corporate entity, or any artificial person. Any references to persons, citizens, inhabitants, subjects, men, people, individuals, or like terms in the Constitution are not to be construed in any way to be referred to a corporation, limited liability company, any corporate entity, or artificial person. Corporations, limited liability companies, any corporate entity, or any artificial person shall do business in the state under the regulation of laws passed by you, the legislators, which shall set the rights of such entities to do business, to promote the common good, and strengthen the social compact of this Commonwealth. Secondly, money is not free speech and may be regulated. To protect our political process and the functioning of the government to serve the best interests of the citizens of the Commonwealth, money shall not be considered free speech. The legislature, that's you, shall have the power to regulate the raising and spending of money and in-kind equivalents for any primary or election of a public official or for ballot measures. This shall include regulation of any advertising for or against any candidate in a primary or election for public office and any ballot measure. And third, nothing contained in this amendment should be construed to abridge the freedom of the press. So we would like to support this bill. We will move forward with a ballot initiative also. Once again, Massachusetts can be the leader and jumpstart the nation. Thank you.
For the Environment and Parks, Joel Wool, Samantha Wiesel, Margot Simon, and Zach Gebhardt.
Good evening. My name is Joel. I'm a resident of Dorchester. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for coming here, and thanks for the opportunity to speak briefly. I have a broad conception of the environment. I am here today because I believe we can do better than gas pipelines and prisons, and I'm concerned that our state political leadership is not committed to investing in the infrastructure we need for the people who need it. At a time when public transit is in crisis, our governor has stated he's unwilling to tax us for trains, but perfectly willing to put a tariff on electric bills to build gas pipelines through communities. I think that transit's a better priority. It should be needless to say that public transit's a lifeline. You've heard a lot about this, but whether it's the Mattapan trolley or the bus systems in Holyoke or New Bedford, I think that's clear. I also think it's clear that we need clean and diverse energy. When 60% of our state's electric generation comes from gas, it's pretty clear that more of that is not a good idea, that we are overly reliant on an imported fuel. It's this over-reliance and also poor management of the energy grid that sent people's electric bills through the roof. And yet I think there's there's too much of a willingness to accept propaganda from National Grid, from other utility companies, who are going to profit heavily from infrastructure build-out of one kind or another. As a voter in this state, I want to give you permission to tax me for trains. And I want to deny you permission to put up more prisons or build gas pipelines in these communities. I want to let you know, put the random doubt in your mind, that a high school in Mattapan is a better investment than a pipeline in West Roxbury or Pittsfield or anywhere else. And I understand that we want to keep talent in Massachusetts, but I believe there are better ways of doing so than putting talented people in jail. So just a couple of things very briefly. Please stop the expansion of pipelines and prisons and oppose any tax to build gas infrastructure further. This also includes that residents and utility customers are currently paying for the cost of lost gas, which I know that the Senate Minority Leader has taken attention to this issue. I would appreciate further action here. Two other things very briefly, just bullets. I think that Senator Eldridge has a bill on community shared solar 1616 that would do something wonderful for expanding access to clean energy. And I want to give a shout out to the comprehensive criminal justice legislation filed by Senator Chang-Diaz. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. My name is Samantha Wessel, and I'm a fourth-year student at Northeastern University. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to come to speak for you, and I'm here to talk about animal protection legislation. I want to thank the Senate for supporting animal protection legislation a lot last session. Passing the shark fin bill and the pets and disasters bills really made incredible gains for animal protection, and I know animal lovers all over Massachusetts really appreciate it. But tonight I kind of want to do something a little bit different. I want to call your attention to some bills that have been filed to repeal or lessen the ban on Sunday hunting. As a nature lover and a recreational hiker, it's really nice to know that there's always going to be one day a year, or one day a week, excuse me, all year long that I can go out and enjoy the beauty, the natural beauty of Massachusetts without having to worry about conflict from hunters. Just this winter, there was a runner in Barnstable who was shot twice because he was mistaken for a deer. Luckily, he survived, but it's really nice to know that I can go out on Sunday and I can go hiking or enjoy nature without having to worry about these issues. So please, I would ask for you to oppose any bills that would repeal or lessen the ban on Sunday hunting this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for your dedication. I'm Margot Simon Golden, and I'm president of the board of directors of the Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition. I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was in my 30s, and 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. I'm here because I'm leading the Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition. We're grateful for all the work that goes into early diagnosis and research into treatment options. But MPCC's focus is on preventing cancer before it starts and not passing on the burden, the impact, and the cost, and passing on cancer generation after generation. One baby born in the U.S. today will be diagnosed with breast cancer. In Massachusetts, the incidence rate is over 5% higher than the national average. Scientific research points to a link between disease and exposure to toxic chemicals. Many toxic chemicals are detected in our homes, workplace, schools, playgrounds, consumer products, and in our bodies. Cancer rates in children have grown by 20% since 1975. People working in jobs ranging from maintenance, hairdressers, cashiers, nurses, physicians, firefighters are all unduly exposed to toxic chemicals. I'm here to urge you to please protect our health from toxic exposure and give future generations the benefit of living a healthier and fuller life. Here are 5 bills please support. An act relating to disclosure of toxic chemicals to consumer products. An act for healthy families and businesses to create a system to evaluate the use and alternatives of toxic chemicals in consumer products and require companies to replace them with safe alternatives wherever feasible. An act to protect children and families from harmful flame retardants. An act to require environmentally safe alternatives to harmful cleaning products. An act requiring disclosure of solvents used in dry cleaning. Plus, Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition is a champion to support Sound Spring Institute's research in water quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Hello, my name is Zach Gebhardt. I'm involved with numerous groups in the metro Boston area protesting energy and specifically dirty energy usage. I'd like to take this opportunity to second what Joel said earlier regarding pretty much everything in the topic, and also to urge the senator from West Roxbury to consider all of the protests in his district and think about maybe reinvesting the money that would go towards building that pipeline into maintaining the ones that already exist, and if that could maybe meet the demand needed. That's all.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, so what we're going to ask of everyone is now, we're going to go till 8:30, but we will stay. We're going to ask you to do it in 1 minute now, and because this will allow more people to be able to say a few words. So now we're going to go on to others. And the other we have Jonathan Cohen and Claire Bleachman. And Susan Harris O'Connor.
My name is Jonathan Cohn. I live in East Fenway. The history of the Olympics is filled with spiraling costs, massive public debt burden, disastrous environmental impacts, the displacement of low-income and marginalized communities, and militarized policing. The process so far with Boston's Olympic bid has been an insult to democracy, as a private organization led by CEOs and lobbyists have had disproportionate say over the policy making for the city. To narrow to a specific question, I wanted to encourage senators to vote to support legislation that would bar the city of Boston from signing a guarantor that the IOC always demands. People like to cite LA in 1984 as an example of a fiscally sound Olympics, and that was because they refused to sign that guarantor, being one of only 2 cities in the running, and had that leverage. If Boston doesn't do that, we can expect to see the cost burden fall in the city, and the state. I would also encourage the state senators from Boston to support Councilor Josh Zakim's proposed 4 ballot questions on yes or no to the Olympics, to the use of public funds, to the use of eminent domain, and to the signing of the guarantor.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Hello, my name is Claire Bleckman. I'm from Somerville. I'm going to try to do this in 1 minute. It's going to be hard. I'd like to say that there are no proven economic benefits to hosting the Olympics. Then the drawbacks are devastating: massive debt, white elephant stadiums, crippling crowds, and even civil liberties abuses. We've had a horrible winter. It's been plagued by a complete breakdown of the MBTA, which we all rely on to commute and to fuel our economy. I want to emphasize that the T runs our economy. The Olympics, on the other hand, would ruin our economy with public debt. So, as John said, Boston 2024 is an unelected group of private business interests, and when they submit their bid on our behalf to the IOC, we will be signing a blank check to make those games happen, no matter the cost. The average has been $19.2 billion since 2000, and every Olympics since 1960 has overrun its initial budget by an average of 179%. So I want to say that the people of Massachusetts don't want to pay Boston 24's $14.3 billion. They don't want to pay that. They don't want to spend public money. And you've heard a lot of wonderful suggestions tonight. I urge you to say that we don't need the Olympics as a catalyst to do these things. I want you to be our legislators and give us these things.
Thank you, Claire. You did it. Susan.
Hi. My name is Sue Harris O'Connor, and I am the Massachusetts State Representative and New England Regional Director for the American Adoption Congress, AAC, which is a national and international nonprofit organization incorporated in 1981 and committed to educating, advocating, and legislating for all adoptees to have access to their original birth certificates. At the core of AAC's mission is a strong belief that it's a human rights violation to not deny a person the right to have their original birth certificate, which in fact denies a person the accuracy of one's birth and heritage. Imagine looking at your birth certificate and it doesn't have the name of the mother who birthed you, or the father who sired you, or your birth name. This inability of having factual identifying information about our identity has kept many of us from being able to locate our first families, to learn about medical history, our racial, ethnic, and religious heritage, and to purely just see who we physically look like. Imagine. Currently, Massachusetts law denies these basic human rights to adopted persons born in Massachusetts between July 17, 1974 and January 1, 2008. Today, I am here to support Access Massachusetts and its bill filed in January 2015 to close this legal gap. These bills were assigned docket numbers SD112, HD2373 and are currently awaiting assigned bill numbers. On behalf of the American Adoption Congress, we would be forever grateful if you would assist all Massachusetts adopted people and their allies who have been fighting for adopting rights for over 40 years with passing these bills which will close that gap. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. And I want you to know, too, what's great about this evening, we're coming to you, but know that you can always reach out to us. The State House is your house. Email us, call us. This is not the last time you're going to be able to speak to us this evening.
Okay, so we're going to cycle back to the top of the issues order. Just in the event, for people who have, obligations, commitments at home, or just plain tired, if you have to filter out, we want to let you know the website where you can also submit your written comments to us, which is malegislature.gov/CC, which is for Commonwealth Conversations. So again, is that right? Did I get it right? malegislature.gov/CC. So that's the website where you can submit written comment, or if you prefer, if you don't have, easy internet access, we have staff that will ask to wait wherever they are that have index cards, and you can also write your comment and just leave it with us before you go. Similarly, we're going to ask people as we go to the top of the order to keep your comments to 1 minute. We still have so many senators here, but remember some of them have 2 hours on the road once they leave here, and we want to get in as much as possible.
Here we go. Dora Fox. Dora Fox, okay, please come up. We also have Bob O'Connor, City Life, Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants. Michael Payne. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Dora Fox. I'm from Jamaica Plain. I'm here basically to encourage you to continue your support of the Community Preservation Act. I'm a retired city planner, and I worked for Massachusetts for 30 years, and I worked with a lot of the statutes, planning statutes, but I think the best one that you've ever passed is the Community Preservation Act. I think it's the most proactive versus regulatory, and I do believe in regulation, but I think that it's great. It provides affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space, and I think these are all very important issues to the people of the state. So I just want to ask you to continue your support. I would like to see the Community Preservation Act adopted in Boston, and so as a result, that would really require you to support the act and the funding for it in the future.
Thank you, Dora.
Bob O'Connor, I'd like to give it to somebody else to be able to speak better than that. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Gordon. I am a volunteer at City Life Vida Urbana, and I'm also on the board of directors there. I represent a coalition of groups, including MAPLE, Mass Alliance Against Predatory Lending, Chinese Progressive Association, Rights to the City. My time here will be used to ask you to think about and enact a law for mandatory mediation that will allow us to remain, reclaim, and rebuild in Boston. We are needing, we need to have mandatory mediation so that homeowners can remain in their property, whether it is as a renter or an owner who we can buy back to nonprofit. The banks can settle back to nonprofit groups, but we need mandatory mediation. When you go back to your offices, please ask your aide every day, has Heather been here? Has Grace Ross been here? Because we're there every day. We walk the halls to ask you to do mandatory mediation. And we lost on Senate Bill 1987, and that's not right. Please revisit that and give us our rights.
Thank you, Heather. Michael?
Thank all of you for this extraordinary event. I'm Michael Kane from the Mass Alliance of HUD Tenants. We're concerned about the dimension of preserving the rare stock of affordable housing in the crisis. We want to thank Senator Forey, Senator Jalen, and Senator Rush for co-sponsoring the Enabling Act to Save Affordable Housing along with several other senators. And we've had support in the past from Senator Hedlund and Senator Scott Brown, so it's a bipartisan approach that would be a no-cost way to save at-risk housing. We've given lists out of all of the units at risk in your districts to everyone, so we'd appreciate your support. We also want to thank Senator Tarr for co-sponsoring the bullying bill that Karen also mentioned, which is modeled on the school bill that takes the same concepts, applies them to the epidemic of bullying and subsidized housing. And last, the Budget for All referendum that Eric mentioned, Colin Smith from our board, 26% of the state budget is federal money, and that money is on the chopping block right now. The Senate Budget Committee is going to come out with a resolution that will devastate Medicaid, turn it into a block grant. There is nothing else to cut in discretionary programs, so they're going to have to look at the mandatory programs that will devastate the state budget. So we need your help to persuade the Mass delegation to vote for the alternative Congressional Progressive Caucus budget that will be released roughly the 16th of March. It can't wait on the resolution, but you all can help get more than the 3 members of the delegation that have voted for that. Those 3 are Congresswoman Clark, Capuano, McGovern. We need your help to get the rest.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, you could send that to us. That would be helpful. Okay, if you could send it to me. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, back to education. We have Elizabeth Casey and Laura T. Are they still here? Elizabeth Casey or Laura T? Nothing, then I'm going to move on then to Monty Neal and Stephanie Sanchez. Okay, then that wraps us in education. We're going to go on to economic development, jobs and economic justice again, Francisco Valdez and Alex Capelli. Are they still here? Okay, moving on.
I may be mistaken, but in Governor Patrick's first term, did you guys pass legislation that allowed enabled communities for crossing guards to be something other than police officers, public safety officials? Do you recall that?
You know, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I would encourage you if you can write the question on a card and your contact information.
Because I was wondering if
We will have someone follow, appropriate members follow up with you. I think that gives us everyone who economic development. And we can talk to you afterwards. Okay, well, he's getting Jacob's number, so we'll do that. Okay. Okay, so Jason Blanchett. Jason here. This is around housing. Thank you, Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Blanchett. I'm from Dorchester. I obviously do not pay attention. I didn't know there was a topic on the sheet when I signed it. So I just, okay, good. So I'm going to deviate. I work with a research team evaluating the effectiveness of alcohol policies to drive down alcohol-related injury, disease, death, and crime. And so there are 3 policy topics that will come before you this session that are very high interest. But rather than talking about how these 3 are related to harm, I'm going to talk about a few other elements about them that are probably less commonly discussed. And so these 3 topic areas are alcohol taxes, bar density, and bar hours. Now the first one, alcohol taxes, will probably come before you in the form of home rule legislation. So a couple of points about this is first that you could actually, you're actually making less revenue from alcohol wholesale taxes than you would make. Oh, my time's up. Look at that. Sorry, you're giving alcohol a tax break. You would make more money if you subjected it to the general sales tax than you're making from the wholesale tax. So you're obviously giving it a tax break. You know what? I'm actually going to just submit legislation. I know you guys are probably very tired. I don't want to, but
can you? Okay.
I'm going to write it down.
Please, and you're my constituent. Okay, so yeah. please do that. And Janice, and Jacob is back there. They'll give you a card. Thank you, Jason. Okay, BTDA. Yeah. This is under transportation. Anyone from BTDA?
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you, Senator Flory, for giving great support. We are from Boston Taxi Driver Association. My name is Pierre Bushman, and I'm one of the organizers. I want to be simple. Our job is at risk. We're not seeing the American dream, we're seeing the American nightmare. If they really don't do something about the taxi industry in Boston. Thank you.
Very good, Pierre. Thank you. Sandy?
My name is Jacques Lemur, and thank you for being here tonight. Knowing with you everything is possible, if not with you nothing is possible. I'm a member of the taxi school in Cambridge, the subcommittee license commission in Cambridge. I'm a taxi driver. I invest in a taxi. I would like to explain to you exactly what you're up to as the owner. The insurance for the taxi is average $6,000 a year. The city taxes for Cambridge is $25 a year. The Commonwealth taxes is $125. The federal taxes is $456, plus mortgages and repairs. Right now, what's going on is we've been subject to all the rules. Going to school, having a license, state license, city license, been inspected, and then we have our competitor Uber, which is having nobody. It seems like people don't say anything about it, but she's the one who we were up, now we're down. So, and I wonder myself, how long that's going to stay, because it's really hard. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you, Senator. Thank you, especially to you, Senator Dafori. I'm Eugene Delville, and I'm one of the organizer at the TDA. The reason we are here tonight is to tell you, Senators, please, pay attention now, please. Please, we call on attention, because the taxi business is in chaos. There's two things. We are falling. We are falling terribly because of we don't have what we need. We don't have what we need. What do we need? We need regulation. We need reform. We need regulation and we need reform. And good reform. And we're not here to talk about Uber. We are here to reform, to talk about reform the taxi industry. Because the taxi industry needs really, really good reform. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chang-Diaz. I'm the founder of the TTA. In India, we have only one way. India will count 1 million people. Only one way they ban Uber from operating. Up here in Massachusetts, there's no rules and regulation. There's nothing. No one say anything except you, Senator Villa, Dustin Afori, who stay behind us. Please, you are the people. We are the one that we vote. No one can deny the power of the people. We know that you can do something. Do something about it. And prove us that we are not wrong when we send you to your post. Please, do something. We need good rules and regulation. There is law for animals, not for drivers. Please, help us. Please, help us.
Thank you, Shandy. You guys are doing so great and we wish us on time. Appreciate it. Back to Health and Human Services. Angela Vanel, Cleve Rhea, and Lori Martinelli. Are any of you guys still here?
I guess it's just me. Hi, I'm Cleve Ray. I'm with the Boston Homeless Solidarity Committee. I have been homeless as a 58-year-old since October the 3rd of last year. I was at Long Island. I was at the South End Fitness Center for 2.5 months until one of the members of our committee at an opening at the First Church Shelter in Cambridge, which I was able to take advantage of on Christmas Eve, thank God. Homelessness is not a Boston problem. Homelessness is a Commonwealth problem. So I'm not a homeless Boston man. I'm a homeless Commonwealth man. On January the 12th, we delivered to Governor Baker's office a letter talking about the issues that had been brought to light with the closing of the Long Island shelter. We haven't gotten very far with it. I was hoping that each one of you would take one and perhaps form a committee at the Senate level to start taking a look at the Commonwealth issues around homelessness. Would you be willing to do that?
We're happy to take the letter from you, absolutely. And we have, and the Senate President has created a special Senate committee on housing. There are 4 special Senate committees. Housing is one of them. Obviously, the issue around homelessness is a big issue, like you said, not just here in Boston, but all over our state. And so our leader has really paid attention, and that's why it is a special Senate committee. So thank you for giving us the letter.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. James Jones and Caitlin McColgan, also under Health and Human Services. Are either of you guys still here? Okay. Come on down. And then we're very close.
Good evening. Thank you for coming and thank you for staying. I'm here to ask you to support Bill SB 1061 regarding child-centered family law reform and shared parenting time. Massachusetts has led the country in so many ways, but this is one area where we're quickly becoming antiquated, using a family law system and rules that are set in a different time period and don't account for 21st century parenting styles, does not account for studies that show that children who spend time developing relationships with both parents develop into stronger, more emotionally stable adults. And we hope that this bill will help to change the system so that it enables the judges and the court system to put systems in place so that both parents can have time with their children and so that the children can develop these strong bonds and relationships. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Circling back to transportation, we have Raya Nadar, Margaret William, and Linda Freeman. Is there anyone who has not signed up, who's still here, has been handicapped, who wishes to speak on any topic? Come on, just line up at the microphone. I'm sorry, what's your name? No, probably. We did not, but come on down. We're just going to line people up with the mic for left if you want to say something. Please, still observe the 1 minute, but speed round, go for it. We'll start right here.
I think I missed the little checkbox. Libby Hayes from Winthrop. I saw Senator Petroselli on my way in, heading to a funeral, so glad to see him here. But here representing Homes for Families and talking about the family homelessness crisis. We know that this crisis is extremely expensive, but the human toll on families and children is even greater, both in the short and long term. To fix this crisis, we need to invest in the things that work. We've made some progress, reinvesting in the Massachusetts Rental Voucher Program and prevention and diversion services. The governor has, his budget that came out today, reinvests in some of those programs, but he also, and expand those efforts, but he also proposes further restrictions to the eligibility. And his proposal and our current approach puts many children and families at risk and don't help families to succeed or to be stable. If we want out of motels and reduce the traumatization of our children, we need to focus on getting families supports and opportunities they need. We need to build and subsidize more housing, invest in child care, prevention, and living wages. We need to stop making desperate families more desperate. We need to stop putting children who are at greater risk. We need to stop making families with least resources be the most resourceful, and turning our backs on the families is not going to help this crisis. Housing, prevention, jobs, and education will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Which alternate mic? We're going to alternate mics. But if you're in line already and you've spoken, if you're in line and you've spoken already, please let folks who haven't spoken come before you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for this invitation to civic engagement. Thank you for your time. And in that same spirit of democracy, I want to urge you to support HD 1988. It's the We the People Act introduced by Senator Eldridge. Massachusetts is already one of 16 states that have called for a constitutional amendment to clarify something that's obvious to most of us. You heard about it from the past Mass person who spoke earlier, but this is about the U.S. Constitution. Clarifying that corporations are not people and money is not speech. But here's the thing, you know as well as I do that Congress isn't going to propose this amendment anytime soon, which is why the founders put in an alternate route to propose amendments. That's where you come in. As state legislators who are closer to your people and less dependent on huge donors, you can call for a convention to propose amendments. This is how we got the 17th Amendment, and it's the only lever that's actually going to pressure Congress into acting. So I know some of you are already co-sponsors. Half of the Senate is. Those of you who have not signed on, I urge you to support the bill and put Massachusetts in the lead, saving the democracy that was born here. Thank you.
My name is Rachel from West Roxbury. And I can be quick because others have been very eloquent on the We the People Act. Corporations have distorted the recent elections, and so that's that. People have been eloquent already on mandatory minimum. I want to make another push for that also from a budget perspective and single payer for the same reason. It's good policy and good budget. And then the last thing is just building on what Joel was saying about the pipelines. We have multiple pipelines happening in Massachusetts, not just the Kinder Morgan, which got a lot of press, and our little bitty bit of the Algonquin in West Roxbury. And the confusing thing is we seem to have no input. So there are multiple pipelines going through dozens and dozens of towns. And I don't see where the large oversight is. We keep getting completely steamrolled. Mike Rushup, Senator, can give you evidence and many stories about getting steamrolled on these issues, and there just doesn't seem to be any way to have local.
Thank you so much. Rhonda?
Hi. My name is Rhonda Jackson, and I'm with Mass Alliance of Hub Tenants, and my executive director has already spoken, so this is going to be very quick. If we can pass the Enabling Act, it would save my building. I live in Roslindale, and it's 540 units, and it would make it come from enhanced vouchers to back to project-based vouchers. So if I want to thank Christina Forey for sponsoring that bill for us, we really appreciate it. So if that would pass, that would help me tremendously in the other people like you that hold enhanced vouchers. It would bring enhanced vouchers back to project-based vouchers, which we would hope that you talk to your colleagues about. Okay.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to continue with this gentleman, Stephen, after the two executives spoke. Okay.
Thank you all for staying so late and for giving us an opportunity to hear our voices. My name is Winston Vaughn. I live right down the street here. I work for a clean energy and energy efficiency company in Boston. We've grown in the 2.5 years I've been there from 250 people to over 1,000. We haven't been able to do that without all the amazing policies from the Green Communities Act, the Global Warming Solutions Act that I know so many of you have worked so hard for, and I want to thank you for that. I also want to encourage you to keep that momentum going. We're opening an office out in Western Massachusetts this year, creating jobs all up and down the economic spectrum, doing things that save our homeowners money, that do good for the environment as well. I'd encourage you to lift the cap on net metering and allow for more solar, and support community solar to help people who don't have the right roof for solar, people who live in apartment buildings here in Boston, to be able to go solar, to save money on their bills, to do the right thing for the environment. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I understand you're Senator Chang-Diaz, first campaign manager.
I was. Good evening. My name is Clifton Sims. I'm also here in regards to the Enabling Act to Save Affordable Housing. One thing I just wanted to point out, according to CDAC, the Community Development Assistance Corporation of Massachusetts, there are another 16,000 at-risk developments who could use their subsidies in the upcoming years. So I just want to reiterate that this act is needed, and once again, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Clifton. Stephen?
Yes, thank you. Might be the last speaker here. So I want to speak on something which is sort of a bit lighter than a lot of the serious topics everyone's been talking about. It is important, not as important as these, but it is still very important. I'd like for you to urge your House colleagues at this time to please oppose Governor Baker's fiscal year 2016 budget recommendation to eliminate the film tax credits. As you know, since 2007, major motion production studio companies, TV commercial companies have spent over $1 billion in the state. In 2011, the film production company, which did Rest in Peace Department, a film spent $108 million in the state. As you also know, portions of the film Heat were filmed in Douglas Square. There was a Boston Globe article today. I'll just read off some statistics from that. The state had dished out $77.8 million in 2013. This has resulted in 10,247 direct jobs, $315.8 million that company spent in Massachusetts, $544.8 million in payroll to Massachusetts crew and production companies, etc. So please continue. The House and Senate have both supported the past. Please continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And we just want to thank you all again on behalf of the Senate. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. But remember, you know how to reach us, right? You can email us, you can call us. We are available. This is just the beginning of dialogue, and it will continue throughout the year and really throughout the session as we talk about the issues that were brought up here today and how we're going to work on finally trying to end some of these crises that we're facing in Massachusetts.
And before we break, I really just want to, on behalf of our districts and Metro Boston in general, I really want to say a big, sincere thanks to the members of the Senate who stuck it out, stayed late to hear everybody, and shut down the list. We weren't sure if we were going to get through it, so thank you for staying with us and being here to hear from our constituents. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Please.